¿Qué tal mis queridos guerreros y guerreras? ¿Cómo están? Espero que muy bien. Este video es un fragmento de la entrevista que tuve con el señor Antony Cummins, que es un autor, historiador y practicante de artes marciales. Es una persona que sabe muchísimo sobre el tema de los ninjas, los samuráis y el Japón feudal, que ha viajado a Japón, ha vivido en Japón varios años, ha recolectado varios pergaminos, los ha traducido, ha hablado con muchas personas. Entonces, en mi opinión, es una fuente muy confiable y creo que puede aclarar muchas de las dudas que existen o incluso desmentir algunos de los mitos. Si quieren ver la entrevista completa, va a estar aquí abajo en la descripción de este video, pero por favor tengan en cuenta que con estos videos no buscamos desacreditar ningún estilo, ningún arte marcial, ninguna filosofía, ninguna práctica que ustedes tengan. Lo que siempre les digo, si algo te gusta, te hace sentir bien y te hace bien, entonces ve y entrénalo y dedícale tu tiempo. La única intención que tenemos con estos videos es encontrar la verdad y tener una imagen más clara de la verdad, sin sesgos y de forma completamente objetiva. Así que espero disfruten este pequeño clip y los invito a ver la entrevista completa. De nuevo, tanto la entrevista como el enlace para comprar uno de los libros del señor Cummins están aquí abajo en la descripción del video.
While we're talking about warriors and the practices of warriors and the martial arts of warriors, I understand you have trained different martial arts. Maybe you can tell us a bit about that. And in your experience, what advice would you give to people who want to get close to this traditional aspect of the samurai warrior?
Right. Like you, we spoke before you started recording, I went on a martial arts, adventure, trying to find it all. And when I left university, I was training under a Shidoshi in the Budokan. I'd done karate, I'd done all that. And I went to train with ninjas and all of this. During my martial arts journey, if you like, it just became totally obvious that what is traditional martial arts is totally different to historical martial arts. So Aikido, Aikijutsu, Kendo, even Judo, and then of course Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Everybody calls it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's actually Japanese Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But it's just from a branch that came before 1945. They were in Brazil, weren't they? Before the war, if I remember rightly. So they were not after the war in Japan. Martial arts changed. Aikido became popular, and the idea of killing and being like a samurai was seen as really negative in post-war Japan. So they made everything peaceful. So basically, I think there are almost no traditions out there that truly represent martial arts that the samurai did. I'm not saying they're not correct, but I know a lot of people are going to be angry at that statement. But like Hattori Shinto Ryu, and we've got Taisha Ryu, I'm doing a project with them, and you get all these different schools that actually do have the keys and the secrets to how the samurai used to fight, but I think they've changed that much that they're probably too far away from the historical fighting. And maybe, the HEMA martial arts, the historical European martial arts, are probably the closest that people get to traditional fighting, and that should be done for Japan.
I mean, I like to be an optimist where possible. So I believe right now people, generally speaking, at least in the people I know and in people in my country, the people I talk to about these kind of topics, they are not very interested in the real aspect. They don't feel so passionate about the real historical aspect, and they feel more passionate about the fantasy, I guess I could call it, or traditional or culturally changed aspect of the martial arts they're practicing. So I think that, for example, people like you've done a great job of communicating these kind of things, because I believe people would be able to feel passionate about the real aspect of the samurai and their different martial arts if they knew more about it. What is your opinion on the state of martial arts, like we said, Bujinkan, Ninjutsu, Aikido, or all those traditional martial arts in Japan? How close do you think they are to the reality of historical martial arts? And do you think they should change something, or they would benefit from changing something? Basically,
we have to start with what are people's intention. So I think Aikido, Aikijutsu, Judo, they're all brilliant. If you're getting out, you're getting some exercise, you're becoming supple and stretching, and you're having fun with friends, and yes, it's very nice. So your question is, how can they get closer to the real thing?
Yeah, or if they even should, or because probably they should just call it like LARPing or Ninja LARPing or something like that, and go on their way, or maybe they should change their ways and get closer to traditional.
Right. I personally think we should totally restart martial arts. Japanese martial arts. This is what everybody gets wrong. I come along and say this is wrong. It doesn't mean you have to throw everything away and forget it. So the locks in Aikido, the throws, judo, all excellent stuff. But you wouldn't quite do it the way they do it there. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
My favourite document by far is Miyamoto Musashi and Gorin no Sho. I've done a video called the Musashi Paradox, so let me explain that. Musashi, writing in about 1645, 1643, somewhere around there, he says that the samurai of his day are totally wrong. And he's travelled most of Japan, and he's fought with many people, and they have no idea what they're doing, and they are not historically correct.
Wow.
Even though we're talking about 1600. And everybody totally ignores the fact that Miyamoto Musashi says that samurai martial arts have changed so much that they're no longer real.
Right.
So what we find there is, do you believe Musashi? If you do, then Katori Shinto-ryu, Kashima-ryu, all of these schools are wrong. If you don't believe him, then of course, you can't like Musashi. Right. So the question for the viewers is, do you like Musashi and you like Gorin no Sho? If so, how do you explain his point? The reality of martial arts in samurai times was very brutal, very fast. We find lots of tactics and tricks. So, for example, you find the idea of, in NATORI, the school I brought back, my favourite thing is kill squads. They say if somebody's very hard to kill, you take three people. One of them faces off, one of them goes from the rear, and the other one defends this circle to keep anybody else at bay.
Wow.
The first one distracts, the second one murders from behind, cuts the throat, and the third one makes sure nobody helps him. And there was, when I looked at historical documentation, nearly all of it is about gang fighting and, helping each other,
Right.
kill another human.
Right.
So that's historical martial arts. And even if it wasn't group fighting and it was single fighting, most of it is cutting the wrist. If you actually check most samurai sword schools, number one is cut the wrist. Go for these external points and then finish people. And you actually decapitate them alive as well. This idea of samurai stand there and, they're sort of like ready. Actually, the way that the documents say is that you go into a grapple, you pin someone, you put your foot on the back of their arm, you lift up their helmet, you cut out their throat, and then as they're still alive, you saw off their head and remove it. You take your Sagio sword cord and you put it in the mouth, out of the neck, tie it, and wear it like a handbag, like a woman's handbag. If you can't take the head off, you cut the face off round here to show that it's a man, and you rip the face off and you take that home instead, or you do it this way so you can show that there's a mustache. I've had an Aikido practitioner put a lock on me, and they're amazing at locks, like literally amazing. But that's not going to stop the man jumping on your back, hacking at your neck with,
Exactly.
with a blade.
Wow, and this is an amazing example. It's very gruesome, but I think it's the kind of examples that are needed.